Subscribe to our YouTube channel, press the bell icon and stay entertained. For subtitles, please click here on your screen. Tracking milestones of an incredible journey spanning 30 years. Rahman Music Sheets.
It could quite easily have fallen between two stools. Bit too much of a Westerners pitch, not really Bollywood enough for India, and too Bollywood for the West.
Once Jai Ho came into the picture, and because even the chant is so spiritual in a way, because we've been using it for, thousands of years, I think. There was some magic which happened.
Jai Ho third eye. If you see it, it brings the whole universe. You can see the sound has gone to the universe and universal energy.
He's probably done much better scores earlier in his life, just that it is in the right film at the right time and it got the recognition.
Oh boy, if that's how the world reacts to Jai Ho, let them hear the rest of Rahman.
Nobody really knows who the Invisible Piper is, but the song that he's playing will be written by AR Rahman.
Produced on a shoestring budget of $15 million, Slumdog Millionaire was set to be released straight on DVD. But distributors realized its potential. The strategy was to first release it in film festivals. On 30th August 2008, Slumdog Millionaire was premiered at the Telluride Film Festival, Colorado, USA. A week later, screening at the Toronto International Film Festival, Canada, generated a buzz around the film. Finally, distributors went ahead with its theatre release in the US on 25th December 2008. Through word of mouth and web-enabled viral marketing, this sleeper film became a mega hit worldwide. Less than 2 months later, on 22nd February 2009, Slumdog Millionaire won 8 Oscars.
And the Oscar goes to Slumdog Millionaire, Christian Colson,
Danny Boyle for Slumdog Millionaire,
AR Rahman for Slumdog Millionaire,
Simon Beaufoy for
Slumdog Millionaire.
We never really expected, when you have a big success like that, retrospectively people imagine that you expected it in some fashion. We absolutely didn't, and AR came into it. He didn't come into it because he knew he was going to get an Oscar out of it or anything like that. He came into it with his heart open, as he does all his work. We got on very well. He liked the idea. I think he liked the fact that we were approaching it in as much as is possible in a non-colonial way. We came into it wanting to tell the story, and it's an open story. It's meant to appeal to everyone because it's meant to be what it champions, which I think he liked. What it champions is that everybody's story is worth telling. Everybody has a story that's worth telling. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from or how poor you are or how little prospects you've got. You've got a story and it's as worth listening to as anybody's story, really. And that was the whole purpose of the film in a funny kind of way, that this guy's story, Dev Patel's story, was actually as valuable as anybody else's story. And all stories have no value and all value at the same time, So, and I think he liked that, AR. So, it may not have done anything at all. It could quite easily have fallen between two stools. Bit too much of a Westerners pitch, not really Bollywood enough for India, and too Bollywood for the West. I don't know. That's probably what people thought. A third of it's in Hindi, so they probably thought it's never going to work in the West. And so all these things mean that you're not really looking at any great prospects for it, but we all made it with a lot of love, and the amount of work he put into it on the soundtrack was phenomenal.
The song Jai Ho wasn't even part of the original plan. Danny Boyle had already shot this dance sequence on another Hindi film song, Aaj Ki Raat.
They had already shot the song with Aaj Ki Raat, And so I was thinking if it's a song from another movie, it doesn't qualify for anything. And it doesn't seem right because Indian audiences have already heard that song. So a new song would be good. So then this song, Jai Ho, was done and time stretched to the exact beats per minute, and then posted, and then he heard it and he said, can you add more strings to it? And I add more strings, and then it was not there till the last moment, and then he re-edited the whole thing to this song, and then rest, it was in Toronto. But it was a crazy time.
To avoid reshooting and replacing the song Aaj Ki Raat, Rahman composed Jai Ho in such a foot-tapping manner that it met every step and exact beats per minute. A song used with the end credits of the film won Oscars and Grammys.
Sometimes instinctively you have a feeling that the film took through like different phases of dark phases, and then you were like suffocated. And when both the boy and the girl meet together in the end, this provided the catharsis which was necessary. And initially it was half-hearted, I would say, but then once Jai Ho came into the picture, and because even the chant is so spiritual in a way, because we've been using it for thousands of years, I think, there was some magic which happened. And it was easily remembered kind of a catchword, I would say, phonetically also.
Here, Jai Ho is an expression in Hindi, but the whole world was singing it. Earlier too, in Dil Se, for the song Jiya Jale, you decided to retain the chorus in Malayalam. In view of these, do you think music requires the crutches of language, or music is a language in itself?
It's very strange. At certain, our sensibilities are, if it's presented in a certain way, we take everything. But when we want a bread and butter, we want a bread and butter. That bread and butter is very close to our culture. And it's like dal chawal, I would say. Those are certain songs with beautiful melodies and lyrics. At the same time, we would also like to have something which is hatke, which wax off and suddenly, oh, I like that. What is it? Just for fun. Because people get bored with the sameness of even the good things. And sometimes you just need one little flash of offset. And if it comes in the right time, if you take even the Korean song Gangnam Style, same thing happened. They didn't understand a word, but they felt good about it. And Jai Ho was probably the same kind of.
I got shivers when you touch away. I make you hot, get all you got, I make you wanna say.
And then we all began to benefit from it together. And to answer your question, it was astonishing how it introduced so many people to his work, which can only be a good thing, And music is like that, it just transcends all borders.
For Slumdog Millionaire, AR Rahman won 2 Oscars, 2 Grammys, 1 BAFTA, 1 Golden Globe. What was so special about the music of Slumdog Millionaire? We spoke to Shekhar Kapur, Rahman's mentor and guide in international cinema. Subhash Ghai, it was his film Tal that gave Rahman his rightful place in Hindi cinema. And Ratnam, Rahman considers him his guru.
If I look at myself as an international listener, when there's something unique, something very different, something out of the way, which comes in, which works like magic and which appeals, which which sounds genuine, not a put on, then it kind of grabs you immediately. I think that's what Slumdog Millionaire did. Yeah, I think it's Rahman. You can feel the Rahman pulse, and the fact that he's able to do that so well for a film that has a tempo of a Western film, of an English film, and I think he was always capable. I think he could have, he's probably done much better scores earlier in his life, just that it is in the right film at the right time and it got the recognition. It was the right kind of music, and it stood out among the rest of if you see the rest of the soundtracks for that year. I mean, obviously this was a standout score.
जब जय हो गाना बनाया उन्होंने, अब वो उसमें जो ट्यून थी उसमें जब उसने कहा डग 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 जय हो, डग 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 जय हो, पर जब जो जय हो जब उसके बाद उन्हें अलग दिया, जो जय हो थर्ड है, if you see it brings the whole universe. You can see the sound has gone to the universe and universal energy.
The world's reaction was pretty amazing because they'd never heard that kind of music before. They'd never heard a song like Jai Ho. And all of us sat back and said, oh boy, if that's how the world reacts to Jai Ho, let them hear the rest of Rahman. Once you've heard the songs of Tal and the songs of, you know, some of the other films that he's done, you feel that the West has so much to yet get from Rahman.
Were you surprised when he was nominated for Oscar?
You know, I wasn't surprised when he was nominated. He and I had chatted and I actually warned him. I said, you know what, they probably won't give it to you. I always knew that they would nominate him. You couldn't not nominate him. But I didn't know they would give it to him because he's not a member of the community. It's so wildly different, you know. So, you know, when he got it, I was really happy.
I could take you to somewhere very far. The dream of you and me, I swear I never let it die.
Would you call him a director's composer?
Oh no, I think he's a wonderful guy to work with for any director. If you've got strong opinions about music, which I have, he's wonderful at letting you express them. And like all great musicians, he doesn't do what you tell him, because it'd be rubbish if you did, but he interprets it. He uses your energy, your desire for what you want, kind of helps guide him, really. I think because he's got these other careers in classical music, in so many different areas of music, he knows that in film music, he has to be a servant of the film, whereas obviously in some of his original compositions, he doesn't need to be, really. But I think he likes that process. It's obviously variation for him, nice variety for him to be able to become, like I say, the servant of a film, you know? And he likes offering things up like that. And that was the spirit that we worked in.
He takes his shoes off before entering the studio, lights incense sticks. How did you react to such cultural differences?
Well, he's very spiritual, which I'm not in a kind of obvious way. But I respected that, you know, and it's like, and I admired him for it. And he's very, it's extraordinary he's working in a medium that is so full of pleasure and drive, especially movie music, you know. And of course he comes partly out of a pop jingle sensibility, which is all about selling and appeal and kind of all that kind of stuff. And yet there's another side of him which is very meditative, you know, and very spiritual. And I loved him for that, you know. And he balances it very harmoniously with everything that he does, you know. It doesn't sit alongside those other things. It is those other things as well. There's no separation really, because otherwise there'd be tension between them at times. But there's no tension at all. He's just, it is what he is, really, so. I don't think there are any boundaries in his music. I think there are in people listening to it sometimes, but that's just them, you know. But there's no boundaries in him at all.
You chose to carry on working with him on 127 Hours too. Why was that?
Oh, just because he's a brilliant composer. I think he was one of the first people I asked to do 127 Hours with, you know, because it was, you know, I mean, you know, he's a brilliant composer.
And then you worked together for the 2012 London Olympics too?
Yes, he did a song for us. I rang him up because we had this sequence and we had a song and I wanted it to be original and I said, would you mind? And you know, it's typical of him. You know, he was so generous because he'd obviously done a lot of work on the Commonwealth Games and he probably wanted to avoid these big things, these big event things, I would imagine. Because once you've been through one of them, you think, oh, my neck. You know, it's. But he was wonderful, and he wrote this song for us. And, you know, he just, I mean, like, so I'd ring him up and he'd be in Chennai and he'd be in the studio and it's the middle of the night and he's got people waiting to sing or play the drums or whatever it is, you know. He's got a wonderful, you know, he's just like, and I feel like a kind of lifelong working companion of his now. We won't work on every single thing together, but I always feel that we'll work on many, many things going into the future as well, you know.
Do you think the West will continue to accept him in years to come?
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, it's his work will, you know, I think anybody who watches Slumdog, you just, I mean, normally when you watch a movie, you're not really aware of the composer. You know, it's one of the curses of being a film composer is that you're, no matter how skilled your work, it's often unacknowledged, apart from your own peer group, who know how difficult it is to do. But the public normally don't really notice it. In fact, it's one of the kind of, it's meant to be one of the attributes you bring to film composing, is that people don't notice the composer. It works on you, it helps the story, but you don't really notice it. But he's so gifted that he does that job as well as also giving you tunes that you can, you know, like great pop tunes or great songs, great musical motifs that you can carry with you, you know. So yeah, people will carry it for a long time, you know. This is by Einstein, Albert Einstein, right? And he said, and this is so appropriate to Slumdog and to AR, I think, he said, everything is determined, the beginning as well as the end, by forces over which we have no control. It is determined for the insect as well as the star, human beings, vegetables, or cosmic dust. We all dance to a mysterious tune, intoned in the distance by an invisible piper. That's what he said. Now that invisible piper, none of us know who that invisible piper is. Some of us think we do, but nobody really knows who the invisible piper is. But the song that he's playing will be written by AR Rahman.
Slumdog Millionaire arrived like a tidal wave in the global film music scenario. It shaped Rahman's career like nothing else before. We now move to another entity that has shaped the career graph of music in India. India's oldest music label, Saregama, exploring what Rahman means for the Indian music industry. The managing director of Saregama, Vikram Mehra, joins us in the next episode. Stay with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, press the bell icon and stay entertained.